Good afternoon, everybody. It is our usual start to every update, so let me know when you can hear me and is the volume good? And am I lined up properly?
Merry Christmas, CSE. Hear and watch you.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, this is the end of the year update. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Then we'll do a short, probably QA, because we're out of here at about 6:30-ish to head to the holiday party at World of Beer, because that's just so fitting. So let's get started. So first, Merry Christmas in advance, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Festivus, and anything else that I haven't mentioned. I hope everyone who sees this video has a nice, safe, fun, and happy holiday season. It's been an interesting year, and I'll talk about this at greater length in the newsletter, because that is also going out today. So we're going to have this update, then the end of the year studio goodbye around 6-ish. Then we're going to have the separate update by email. So much stuff to end the year. And guess what? All of it's good. I have absolutely nothing bad, semi-bad, or really even the least bit negative to talk about today. And that's really nice. So let's start with the most important stuff, which is going to be two of our top 10-ish lists. So the first top 10-ish list is going to be the top 10-ish for the last couple weeks. As you folks know, we are in the process of changing how we do user stories. We're condensing them. For example, today's user story count, I believe, is only 48, which compared to our 130 is far more manageable. This is what you folks wanted, and we're going to give it to you. So, that will certainly help, and today's top 10-ish will also help more, especially those folks who just really want, okay, what are the big things from the last 2 weeks? So let's start. Well, again, we continue work on networking and stabilization. And I'm sorry, I am going to be reading this pretty much live. I did not have a chance to even go over this list today. We unfortunately had to take one of our guys to the hospital, but he's fine, which is good, which is why there's nothing negative. So that took up a little bit of my time today. I will be looking at this for the first time while we speak. So in terms of the networking, there was actually a mistake in it. I'll correct that. Everything is going great. We were over 2,500 bots last night before we had to shut it down. I was in earlier today at 2,000, at 1,000. All the problems that we had been seeing over the last couple weeks at those kind of numbers, all gone. Smooth as silk. Literally, when I walked in, there was, God, it felt like a game with only 20 or 40 characters. I was moving around beautifully. I went in and out of the mosh pits for the bots. It was great and glorious, and I've got a smile on the inside about a mile wide, because being able to see those huge numbers and the kind of performance we were getting, that's just absolutely fabulous. So, that's number one on the list, as it deserves to be. Even more networking, apparently, is the number two item, with lots of improvements there as well. particle performance improvement. So I believe we talked last week about some of the work that George was already doing to improve our particle system. We're now shooting for 50x, so 50 times what we currently have in terms of particle systems performance. Obviously, that's kind of important. As many people have asked us, as they should, well, you're showing an engine that has 1,000 or 2,000 players. What happens, with the new animation system? What happens with the new effects, or in this case, the improved effects system? Well, certainly, if we get a 50 times increase over what we currently have, and what we currently have was a multiple as well over what we had before, we will be in a really, really good shape. And that's before we even get into the fancy stuff we can do in order to restrict what you could possibly, see in terms of stuff in the distance to improve performance. So, very happy there. Lots of ability system bug fixes. There's a quote from Matt in it. Assorted last week before break gameplay bugs. Okay. So we've been apparently fixing lots of bugs, and that is a quote. I am not sure why it's such a great quote, but Tyler said, Matt said it best, so okay, there we go. Okay, we've been working on our building blocks. As you folks know, we also talked about this last week. Brad has been working on the curved surfaces, so we've made progress on that as well. Design tools. Matt has been giving Ben easier ways to audit the armor stats via what all designers here and elsewhere love, CSVs. So that's going in. The physics server. So one of the things we've talked about, and I know we also mentioned this in the last update, was really how our servers work. And you've heard us use proxy servers, the term proxy servers, main servers, now physics server. So what we've been in the process of doing is pulling out physics from the main game server and putting it on its own server. That will increase performance and certainly allow us to do all the wonderful things we have hoped to do in terms of building stability and just overall physics. So we expect that will happen early next year. Let's see. More work on the tools. Our tools team really really is made up of Bull and some help. So he and not much, frankly, because most of the other guys have been doing other things, of course. So he is doing yeoman's work, and as I talk about in actually the update, sometimes without a lot of attention to support everything we need to do here. So we've made progress on that as well. We've been working on sound and more work on tools, and so you're going to see some of that, the results of that next year. Work in progress, places of power. We showed some concepts in the last update of the new place of power, and we are moving forward with that. We've been working on the female court armor, full court armor, for both the General TDD and the Lucapan. More work on the fall heavy armor, as opposed to just the fall court armor, so I'm not sure why these two are in different things, but hey, I'll ask Tyler afterwards. More work on the website. So one of the things that we have been doing, as you folks know, or I think you know, is putting up various translations and support for languages other than English. And the French site has been undergoing a lot of review and a lot of work by Charles and his helpers, and that's starting to look good. We are also continuing work on localization of the website for other languages as well. So that's the top 14, apparently, even though it seems like more like 12 for today's update. Going to be covering a lot more again in the full update that will go out later today. But yeah, good 2 weeks, especially when you look at the improvement in the networking, the new animation system, which Andrew is continuing to work on, and the VFX system. Oops, okay, I think we're back. We flashed.
Did we?
Yeah. Can you folks still hear me, see me? Everything good? Still in focus?
Oh, yeah, no. That was just me making sure it was in focus.
Ah, okay, groovy. Okay, so let's talk about end of the year stuff. So it's been a long year. We've had certainly some ups and downs. We had a lot of disappointment, both externally from you backers, other folks, and internally about the delay in beta. That sucked. There's just no two ways, about it, and there's no sugarcoating it. Anytime you have to announce a delay, especially if in this case it's a longish delay, that's never, a good thing to do. On the other hand, when you look at how far we've come this year, if you look at where we are at the end of the year, not only in terms of technical achievements, but even more importantly, where we are and how we're positioned for 2017. And I know some people are going to think that this is a bit of spin doctoring, but it isn't. We are actually in better shape on a whole bunch of levels than I thought we would be this time, say, 6 months ago. And let me explain that. First and foremost is the ability system. Last, spring, we told you that we were going to have to refactor the entire ability system. And that sucked. I wish so badly that we didn't have to do it. But we did. It was necessary. It was the right choice to make. And here, as we end the year, we have an ability system that, in terms of its customization, in terms of its expandability, in terms of what Ben, myself, and other designers and programmers can do with the system, it is head and shoulders above what we had last winter and early spring. We could have stuck with that system. We could have band-aided the heck out of it. We still would have probably had to delay beta, because we still would have spent more time band-aiding it than we had hoped originally. But it was the wrong call. It was a dumb call, would have been a dumb call to do that. We made the right call. And thanks to that, at the end of the year, we have a system that just blows away anything I ever had at Mythic, and based on what the programmers here who've worked on other games have said, as well as Ben, it's better than anything in terms of, again, its customization, than anything they've worked on. Are we done with it yet? Of course not. The system is never done. But as you folks have seen, for at least those who've been in beta, you can create the abilities that you need to play this game. Is it perfect? No. Are the animations in? Obviously not. But the core ability system, the most difficult part of just the ability system, that's in. The animation system, the VFX system, they're their own special beasts. But just in terms of Ben's ability to create components, and then you folks using those components to make abilities, that's in and working really well. And now we have a system, and we'll have a system, that we're not going to have to refactor again, that we're not going to have to just throw out. It can do what we need it to do, and what it can't do today, we can just add more to it. And that was a hard decision, but it was the right decision. The second place where we're so much better off than we were in the spring is in Seattle. As you folks know, the plan had been just to have people work remotely. We had said many times that we were not going to open up a remote studio yet. We tried. We really did everything we could to recruit people to Virginia. But for those who've been to Seattle, or those who just want to look at the kind of crazy growth that's going on there, I think you'll be shocked if you weren't aware of just how many engineers are being sucked into that vortex that's coming out of Washington. We had no choice. Once again, a hard choice. It's going to cost me, as well as the other investor, a lot of extra money. Just like the ability system refactor is costing us money. But it was the right decision. And why, in this case, it's an easy call in some ways, is that if you look at where we are today, with 4 engineers out there, and Brittany, our technical producer, a 5th engineer joining us on the 2nd of January, with other engineers, I am sure, and everyone out there, I've asked has assured me of this, once we have our office, other folks will come. That's a whole different world than we were in the spring, when we were desperately trying to, convince anyone to move to Virginia. And they had to be the special anyones, right? Because we didn't just go out and hire, programmers who weren't, awesome. When you look at who we brought in, a guy like Gabe, fantastic. He's lived up to all our expectations. We weren't, and still aren't, willing to lower our standards. And because of that, we have a team out in Seattle already who's kicking ass, to join us in that. You look at the work that they've been responsible for, that is awfully impressive for a bunch of people working on technically challenging issues on a brand new, not out of the box engine that they might have been familiar with. So that's, I can't overestimate, just how important that is for us and for you backers going forward. For the last year, and certainly more like a year and a half, I can't tell you how many times I've seen on the forums or in emails people worried about, hey, are we going to be able to recruit programmers? Hey, are we going to be able to ever finish this game? Look at what we've done. We now have a separate team. When I was out in Seattle, I was helping to look for a space. So, in less than a year, we've gone from 1 programmer out in Seattle to 5 people in Seattle. That will be 6 people in January. We've gone from working out of, his house to now working, hopefully soon, working out of an office. And that's huge for this game. And that's huge for you backers. We have once again, just like with the ability system, have proven that we will do what's necessary to make this game great and to get the game out, not just on a when it's done pace. We will take the time it takes to make it, or to do it the right way, to make a great game. And if that means extra money, myself and the other investor have been willing to spend it. So, no matter how you want to view this year, those 2 things alone are game-changing. They're game-changing for the game itself. They're game-changing, I hope, for how you view CSE. And they're game-changing for us in the future. Because we will continue to expand the company. We'll bring in other people in Virginia. We'll bring in other people in Seattle. They'll probably faster in Seattle. And we will do what it takes to make this game come out. And as you look at the top 10-ish list that I read before, it focused on just some of the improvements that we've made over the 2 weeks. Now I want to take a few minutes and recap just some of the things that we have accomplished, in 2016. Well, number 1 on the list, of course, opening the office in Seattle. I won't go over that again. I think I've said that enough, but it's worthy of number 1 on a pretty cool top 10-ish list. We've upgraded our engine tech. So 3 years ago, when I was first talking to you about this game, I said, quite frankly, that we were not going to be a game that focused on graphics. We were not going to look as good, certainly not as a AAA CryEngine game, but it wasn't even going to look close to that. We set the expectations low, and we set them low on purpose, mainly because at the end of the day, what you folks said you wanted and what we wanted was a game that focused on performance, that focused on large-scale battles. And so in the last few months, especially the last 6 months, we've shown that we can do both. We've shown that we can take a game like Camelot Unchained with its large-scale battles and add things. And not only just add things in terms of gameplay, but more importantly, like the ability system, but add things in terms of visuals. And over this last, half of a year, with the improvements to PBR, HDR, Bloom, etc., we've taken a game that a year ago people were looking at and going, yeah, this really kind of looks really, really old, to a game that, guess what? Doesn't look as old anymore, does it? And now with the art team being able to do, far more than they could before, it's looking better every single week. And it's going to continue to do that not only until the day we launch, but after that as well. So, those are the first three things. Updated engine tech, or opening the office in Seattle, updating the engine tech, and also overhauling the look of the game. The fall biome, the fall court armor. These are examples of what we can do today. And that's also going to get better at times, over time. One of the things I've said, I think in the last update, if not the one before, is that we'll loosen going forward the tight grip we've had on the poly triangle count, because the engine can handle it. That will give the art team even a greater ability to make the models look better. So expect changes next year as well. Number 4, obviously the ability system. We've talked about that enough. It was a tough decision, but a necessary one. And I guarantee you folks, a year from now, you're going to thank us for it. Because the customization, again, that we can do, the way that it is very easy, or relatively easy, for Ben to create new abilities, or to create new components, and therefore you guys can then create the new abilities. There's nothing like it. You're gonna love it. You may not be happy with some of our choices with components, because that's always the case, but the core system, I know you folks are going to appreciate it, not only a year from now, but 2 years from now, and even 10 years from now, because it makes it so much easier for us to update and innovate, on this kind of game. Big bot testing was number 5. So going into beta 1, if you folks remember, we said 1K was our target. Well, we've kind of blown right through that. We're now past 2K. We hit 2.5K. I mean, think about that. 2,000 backers and bots running around in an area the equivalent of what, a few hundred yards? Really small. You can't find that in any other MMORPG. When I was out in Seattle, one of our guests actually had worked on PlanetSide, and he was part of the testing when they broke the record, for FPSs at 1.5K plus. So, a little bit down the road, here we are, and we're over 2,000 already. And it's just going to get better. So that is such a big deal, that not only we delivered on the 1,000, but we've blown through that at 2,000, and we know we can go higher. How much higher? We'll see. But we've done it. We've created already an engine that I can go in, backers can go in, run around with 1,000 bots, and it just feels like a game with a fraction, of the number there. It was just lovely seeing that before I went to Abu Dhabi, and then even better when I've come back. So, I hope you're all very happy with that. The new animation system. So Andrew is working, close to full time on that, besides, when he has to do code reviews or drop in little surprises or do other system architecture stuff. But he's already got an improvement in performance, and he expects it to be even more powerful and performant next year. So I know you folks are dying to see that. So are we. The multi-server tech. So that's a big deal too. So, not only have we proven that we can, get a whole bunch of people and bots in a room and have them do stuff, but now we've got the ability to treat totally different servers, physical servers in different locations, different games if we want, all as part of one shared world. That's pretty cool. It's not tech that is finished, like none of this tech is ever finished, but look at what it can do already. So, that is a major, win for the studio, and also courtesy of one of the folks out there. Next, stability, and more stability. For those of you who have been part of our, alpha and, beta 1 and IT testing, how many times have you seen a server crash? I mean, that's incredible. I mean, we've had, for an old school game that's using an old school testing regime, I've never seen anything like it. As great, and Dark Age of Camelot was a great game. It was made by a great team. We had some really pretty solid tech, for the at launch. Up to now, we are even more stable. And we are more stable while we're rebuilding our ability system, while we're throwing thousands of bots at, the server, and our proxies, and physics, and you folks. And still, how few server crashes, have you seen? And that's, I know it's hard for some folks to look at, a lot of this tech stuff and go, yeah, I know it's great, and I appreciate it, and I'm not going to ask you about when is gameplay going in. I know that's hard because we're all waiting for beta. But the bottom line is this, folks. Because we are tackling the hard problems now, and because we are solving them, beta will be so much more productive. Whether it's beta 1, 2, 3, 4, we know the tech works. You've seen it. Obviously, there'll be issues as we add new tech. That always happens. But the core and some of the most difficult things that we had to accomplish, they are already in and they are already working. And for those of you who've been fortunate to be in old school betas, that's not usually the case. That is going to make our beta a much smoother process than I think most of you realize. Yes, we'll have design issues. We always do. Everyone always does. But you won't have to worry about constant crashing of the servers, constant crashing, of clients. We are so much more solid than any other game I've been a part of at this stage, that while I know it's hard to, really appreciate now, I guarantee you'll appreciate it by the end of next year. Dealing with Discord. So we announced this just a couple weeks ago. It's a big deal. We're going to work with Discord to give you folks the best experience you've ever had in terms of in-game voice chat, in terms of using outside programs if you choose to talk to players and guildmates while you're in the game. We are getting to work with a system that's already, based on everything we've seen, the industry leader. And having them as a partner for CSE is fabulous. We're excited about it. Based on what I've seen from a lot of you backers, you're excited as well. And the best news here, the absolute best news here, is that it's not going to take a lot of our time to give you guys features that you wouldn't have even had without Discord. And look, at the end of the day, as I said during the last update, if it doesn't work, we pull it out and we go back with our own system. But I have almost zero concerns about that. This one's a personal one, and this was going to Abu Dhabi and back to Doha and out to Seattle. That was a lot of fun. I met with some really, interesting people, had some great meetings, caught up with an old friend, or two actually. So that was really cool. Might it amount to something for the studio down the road? Anything can happen. But the bottom line is there's a whole bunch of people out there who are looking at our game, they're looking at our tech, and early next year, when we get into beta, they'll be taking an even bigger, look at us. And that's a very good thing for us as the studio and for you as backers. Because one thing I've said to everyone who's even asked at any level about the studio is that we're not interested in selling the studio. We're just not. We're interested in making the game. We're interested in finding partners. We are not interested in selling CSE, today or tomorrow. It's just not something we're looking at doing. We're here to do, one thing, over the next couple years, and that is to build not only Camelot Unchained, but hopefully Cube as well, to work on the board game that Max, has put his hours into, and to give you folks something beyond what you backed us for. And that's going to take time, and we're going to do it the right way. And the right way, as always, means not selling out, especially now. On the other hand, like I said, partners like Discord, like WWise, like others that we hope to announce next year, this is the right way to do things. So I really did enjoy my trip out there. I really did meet with some cool cats, and had a couple of very interesting, more than interesting, days in Abu Dhabi. We even had one backer come over from Dubai to visit, which was great. And that was certainly in my personal, top 10-ish list. And so last and certainly not least, blocks. You've seen our tests with thousands of plots and thousands of buildings and hundreds of millions of blocks. That was amazing. It was a great achievement, and that's only going to get better as well with the move to physics, or the move to a physics server, excuse me. So, that's it on the top 10-ish list. There's so many other things we can talk about, but those are some of the big ticket items. And if you look at what we did as a small studio over this past year, because certainly, especially before Seattle, by any definition of MMO studios, we were really small. Even with Seattle, people still ask, me and ask other people here, like, what are you guys, crazy? Nobody expects that this, team, certainly in the industry, expects that this team this size can deliver on the things that we're trying to deliver on. As I've told you before, they say this during interviews, that they don't think that, we can do what we're doing. Fortunately, the people that are part of our Seattle crew, they all believe it, which is a very good thing. But not everyone does. And many years ago, as you folks know, back in 1999, there was another studio who was also told the same thing, that we couldn't deliver back at Mythic on what we had hoped to accomplish. We were also a small team. We were also, by the standards even then, an underfunded team. And we had our ups and downs as well during those, 18 months, especially as we came closer to the end. And that team delivered. And that team was a great and good team that worked really, really hard. Everyone there worked hard. There's nothing but praise ever from my lips about the team that made Dark Age of Camelot. they earned every credit that they've gotten over the years. Well, we have a great team here now, and a great group of guys and gals in Virginia and Seattle who are also working really hard to deliver. And we will deliver on everything that we have, said we will deliver. You've seen it, it's coming, and by next year at this time, I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that you folks will look back on 2017 as the most interesting year in the history, albeit brief, of City State Entertainment. We will deliver on beta, and we'll deliver in some unexpected ways, which I think will all be good. And we're going to give you an experience that you've been waiting for. Because it's one thing to have a developer like us treat you the way we have. Very open, very transparent, but we still have to deliver the goods. My former studio, Mythic, almost always delivered the goods, at least while I was there. Can't ever speak about when I was gone. We will deliver the goods here. Of that I have absolutely no doubt. And by next year, this time, I know you'll feel the same way. So, having said all that, and it's about 4:30, we can do a Q&A. It will be relatively short because I have other things to get done before we close up shop for the remainder of the year. So, folks, question time.
All right, hit us up. We're going to do a short one. Here we go. Odilvik, with the new capabilities of the engine and staffing, has the long-term scope/vision of the game changed with the possible addition of more BSC stuff added post-launch than you had originally ruled out?
Changed officially? No. Do we talk about it occasionally? Yeah, absolutely. I think the most obvious way, at least for now, is what Andrew said a few weeks ago about that we could afford more polys and tries with our models. So we'll see what else we'll be able to pull into the game. I expect that won't be the last change and improvement that we'll be able to get over the coming year.
Heartfire asks, "Hey MJ, Merry Christmas to you, your family, friends, and everyone at CSC. What are your wishes, hopes, and predictions for 2017, especially with CU?"
Okay, that's a great one. Okay, I should have figured that one was coming from someone. So wishes. I think my biggest wish is that a year from now, in terms of at least CSE and CU, that the vast majority of our backers look at what we've delivered and smile. I know we can't get everybody. I had one potential backer try to use the store. For those of you who have failed to have a transaction go through for whatever reason, we tried to make light of it, not make it a big deal. And this potential backer, got all bent out of shape, wrote us a nasty gram about how unprofessional that we make a joke. And it's like, yeah, okay, you can't please everybody. We know that. We know that sometimes being a little snarky or just trying to be funny and make fun of ourselves can sometimes be misconstrued. It's life. We prefer it this way. We prefer the not overproduced videos. We prefer, even when we were in Seattle, that sort of whoops moment to, trying to spend money that shouldn't be spent, frankly, on trying to have an expensive setup and doing things in what might be seen as a more professional way. That's not our job. Our job is to be professional game developers, not video producers. So, that would be one of my wishes. In terms of predictions, I think that in 2017 we'll surprise a bunch of backers. Good surprises. I think we'll give you things that you were not expecting. I think that or I predict that many of you will be quite pleased with what we'll do, and even surprised. An obvious prediction will be that some of you will not be happy with what you see. That's game design. That's life. We know some people will not like exactly how the game comes out. There's nothing we can do about that. It's no matter what game you play, there's always people who are unhappy. Dark Age of Camelot, Warhammer. I mean, I can't even tell you. You know, it goes back to even my MUDs. There's always people who are unhappy. So that's an easy prediction. I think, at least I'm hoping, that if we can continue to grow the Seattle studio the way we have, and at the same time bring in some additional engineers here, I think, or I predict, that will really surprise people with the pace of improvement. With our current team, we again are now at the size I had hoped we would be at a minimum. We are willing to go even bigger. Not huge, because you can't double or triple the size of the programmers and say, hey, we'll speed things up by 3 times. It doesn't work that way. But certainly adding a few more members to the team, especially in certain areas, can really help. And so, we just put up 2 new job recs on our board in the last 24 hours. We'll be putting up probably another one as well. So we're still looking. In terms of just, other predictions. Okay, I predict there'll be, and this has nothing to do with CU or CSE, but I think it's going to be a really interesting year Kickstarter-wise, and that's all I'll say. Next. And again, it's not us. I'm not hiding who, they're going to, launch a new Kickstarter for a Dragons in Space game. No, nothing like that.
Paladin Brewer, will campaigns get some sort of a bonus that normal grouping does not provide? Can you elaborate more on campaigns? Pretty please with gumdrops.
Yeah. I love the gumdrops, especially since I'm off the diet for another 8 days, and then I go back on. But no, I can't talk about campaigns more right now, especially given the time. Plus I want to give JB more airtime on that. That's one of his babies, and just as I like to defer to Ben to talk about some things, that's one of the things that I'll defer to JB on. I know he's very proud about what he's been doing, just as we are, with that system.
Rahalden asks, will the leaders of each realm generate quests based on the status of the front line? For example, orders to capture a specific harbor.
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past. I think there needs to be a certain, amount of things like that. Not dailies, because that's just something we've said no to. But we will certainly be using the Kings and the Realm reward system, to give additional incentives to folks, especially, in the underpopulated realms. So yes, there will be things like that going on. That I don't want to say that's crucial, because I don't think it's crucial, but I do think it's important. Incentivizing players to go out and do things is not a bad thing, unless, of course, again, there's something like dailies where it just feels like a chore.
Odal Vic on behalf of Nanulak, will wildlife have static spawn points, so if I need red deer hide, I know exactly where to go? Or will there be multiple or random locations, so I'll need to actually hunt the deer?
Both. I mean, we're not trying to, design Wild Kingdom here. We don't have the time. But we'll certainly have a little bit more interesting spawning system than just, they always spawn at one location.
Well, Strike JK says, Merry Christmas. How much weight do you plan to gain over Christmas?
I am trying not to gain that much, because it means I have to lose it again next year. And, I'd lost a lot, and then I put back on because of things, and now I got to lose it again. So I'm not trying to be good, but I'm also not trying to be terrible. which will be hard tonight because I actually really like World of Beer, especially the ones here, which apparently there was one in Seattle, I was told, that closed. The ones here are fantastic, great beer selection, and their fried mac and cheese balls are ridiculous.
Dion the Gray asks, without mentioning a specific date, can you elaborate on how close we are to at least having a basic structural combat mechanic in the beta tests? Something like 2 spawn points and something to fight for in the middle.
Frankly, that's not the holdup. I mean, Ben could easily make the maps like that. That's something he's done before and can do quite easily. Talk to us. We will have a better answer to you, much better answer, by the end of January. Again, we're adding a new programmer, and she is going to be gameplay focused. With the numbers that we're seeing from the bots testing, we'll be able to pull one of the programmers off that. That will give us more, gameplay time. So I think, I know we'll have a much better answer about everything at the end of the month.
Paladin Brewer asks, any chance we'd be able to use Blender, Maya, 3DS, etc. and import into Cube?
Frankly, we haven't discussed that yet. It's something that's certainly we can talk about with the Builder Squad. That's honestly nothing that has not come up in any discussion I've been a part of.
Liz Luke asks, at what point will you start hiring for customer service / GM positions?
Oh, that's something that won't happen until probably 6 months before we launch, and even then it'll be a lead position. CS staffing will be low for this game. One of the advantages of having a RVR game and not a PvE game, and especially a game that is going to appeal more to old school folks, is we don't think you're going to need the same level of customer support that if you're going wide with a game that you'll need. Plus, you folks will have been, or the vast majority of you, will have been in beta for quite a while, and I'm not just talking about beta 1, I'm talking about the later stages of beta. So I expect we'll need less customer support, certainly at launch, than my other games have needed.
Valdi313 asks, in regards to CSE and being able to make this game, is the company still in a good financial position to complete the game without only using extra money from MJ and his other investor? In other words, has CSE already run through all of the Kickstarter and PayPal money from us gamers?
We're fine. Don't worry about it. Talk to me in about 18 months if we haven't, launched yet. Financial situation, just fine. And by the way, let me also clarify. The reason I keep talking about extra money is that's for the Seattle team. That's not to make the game. That's for Seattle. We still have not spent all the money, or even close to all the money that we've raised from Kickstarter plus the investors. Because that would be bad if we had done that, and no, we haven't.
Das Let's Play Shoff asks, will there be graphical updates or expanded view distance of player models, etc. in some years when PCs get more power?
Did he say extended view distance?
Expanded view distance.
Expanded view distance? We already have the most expanded, draw distance of any MMO I've ever seen. Could we go further with it? I mean, I guess we could, but you really wouldn't be able to see anything. It's so far away. On the other hand, as PCs get more powerful, will that give us more things to do? Or the ability to do more things? Absolutely. Absolutely. It already has.
Hopefully you understand this question. What's the future for Lone Wolf Ops looking like? I've heard throughout development it will be good and that there won't be much. Could you, as a lone wolfer, give some of your pack some info you're looking forward to?
I think I understand the question. Try again. Are you asking, as an independent studio, what the future is for stuff like us? That's what I think you're asking. But if there's a hidden subliminal message in there, I'm blanking on it. So, re-ask the question as I move on to the next one. Please.
Fubu wants to know, did you catch Rogue One yet?
Yes, I absolutely liked it better than The Force Awakens. Enjoyed, I think, no spoilers, but I enjoyed the last third of the movie very, very much. I did think, though, that we went to see it at the IMAX and 3D studio. Sigh. It's been a day. The IMAX and 3D theater out in Thornton Place by Seattle. And that was kind of a waste. It really didn't feel to me like they had spent a lot of time or money making the 3D experience actually worthwhile. But I enjoyed the film, and no spoilers, so I can't comment further, though I'd like to. In most of the thing I will say is I think it was the most adult Star Wars film since The Empire Strikes Back, which made me very happy. So, yeah.
Paladin Brewer asks, is there still any chance of allowing us to do our combat class and full crafting on one character, rather than forcing us to have an alt to experience the full game?
Nope.
Or is that pretty final at this point?
That's final. Look, we've sold the game to backers as having a separate crafter class. To take that out would mean going back on, what amounts to a foundational principle for our backers. And I have no intention of doing that. I really don't.
Sacrix asks, are you going to open 500 IT packages for builders also? How do you feel about IT going forward?
I think we need some more IT testers, and that's something we'll look at during beta. I understand, as I've said in the past, that, look, the game's development has taken longer, and it's harder for the IT folks to get, excited about things. We'll see what happens as we get into beta 1. And if we need more, I'll put up more IT packages for sale. Absolutely.
James Boosie asks, happy holidays. Cube is fine for beta launch, but do you plan on improving the building to allow players to use microvoxels in building and not be limited to a few pre-made shapes?
Well, we're certainly going to improve Cube once we get into beta. It's been lowest, one of the lowest things on our priority list for a while now. We are absolutely going to improve it. How far we will go with it, we'll see. At the end of the day, there are two major things to think about when you're looking at microvoxels or shrinking the size of cubes to make them even less blocky, as I've talked about in the past. One is performance. Nothing trumps performance. Second is ease of use. The idea of having a sanding tool, microvoxels, all that, will work very well for some people, but not as well for other people. So we'll see. It is not something we have talked about here, but like everything else when it comes to performance, if we have extra, cycles to spare, we'll certainly look at ways to, improve the game visually that we wouldn't have been able to look at before.
The Game of Pones asks, what class are you looking forward to playing the most?
Wow. This is
This might be a good one to end on.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'll have an answer by the end. The problem is there are so many, classes that I am interested in playing. I've talked about this in the past. I mean, after all, all the classes' initial vision was written by me. So there's a whole bunch of things that I'm really excited about. So yeah, I don't think I'd be able to answer this. There are just too many of them, especially if they come out the way I hope they come out.
Blackjack asks, will caravans have an option to have NPC guards protecting them, or will they only be player defended?
Oh, absolutely. Look, we know that at the end of the day, we're going to have NPCs have some role in this game. We have talked about that in the past. NPC guards for your homes, for castles, etc. So having them for caravans just makes sense.
Lieutenant Dan asks, what are your thoughts on the amount of publicity CU is getting? Would you rather a lot of people suddenly became interested, or stay a bit low-key until closer to release? Keep trying to get my friends involved, but need more ammunition.
Low-key. You know, I cannot stress enough how many times I've said from the beginning that we're not getting aboard the hype train. We weren't going to do what we did back at Mythic for Warhammer. There was nothing evil about that. It's just different. We want to low-key it until we can prove to the vast majority of people who see streams from the game that, you know, we have delivered on some of our promises. And we're not there yet, obviously. Yeah, we can stream great tech tests. We, frankly, blow away tech tests, you know, when you compare us to other engines. But that's still not a game, at least in many people's minds. So, for now, low-key. I think you folks, especially those of you who have been with us since the beginning, know how deeply I don't want to disappoint people. Whether it's on a personal level or studio level, I just don't want to do it. So why hype now? You know, why try to get people excited now? We have to deliver. When we deliver, that's the time to bring in more people, to take it from low-key to a much higher range.
Sacrix asks, will 2017 be the year of information and the floodgates opening?
Loaded question, but yes and no. So, yes, there'll be a lot more information, certainly about the classes. No, in the sense of not going from zero information, to ludicrous speed. We've been giving out a lot of information. We've certainly had a lot of tests. We certainly talked on the forums, etc. So while I agree with you that there will be a lot more information coming out, I think for a game that is in alpha and an old school alpha, I would stack the amount of information you folks already have about the game right up there in the top 5 to any other game that's in our kind of alpha.
Epic Plays just clarified, I see, the
Good.
question. What will Lone Wolf play be like in the game?
Got it. There we go. See that, and see when I heard your question, I was thinking, is he asking about, you know, a team, about the studio going lone wolf and all that? So what will it be like? So assuming you picked a class that's suitable for soloing, you know, because let's face it, if you pick a solo, pick a healer and say, yeah, I just want to go and be a solo healer, that's going to be a lot more challenging, right? Because if you're, you know, just wandering around the world looking for someone to heal as opposed to wandering around the world looking for a group to join, that's very different. As a lone wolf, I think you'll find the experience a lot of fun. Whether it's the stealth classes or even the more traditional fighters or archers, I think there's a lot of potential for people to go out and enjoy. Boy, if you want some quick examples, so if you think about what we've talked about regarding the different places of power, we've shown you big concepts, or bigger concepts certainly. There'll be smaller things as well. Obviously, there'll be people's homes and that are not castles. It won't be just about going from relic keep to relic keep, or going from large structure to large structure. So I think that you'll actually find that this game will have more opportunity for the solo player than you might expect. Again, assuming you're not picking a healer or something that really needs to have other people around them in order to play their role well.
Odilvik asks, what are you hoping is under the tree on Christmas Day?
I'd love another couple programmers. Certainly that would be nice. No, given everything that happened last year with Lady J, I'm certainly just hoping for health and happiness for my family, for everyone here at CSE and their family, and for all you backers as well, even the ones who annoy us at times.
It would have been a good place to end.
That would have been. So 5 minutes, folks, because I really have to get back. Very, very short amount of time left.
Valdi313 asks, since the delay happened with beta, can we maybe see more classes playable besides the announced 3 per realm in the beginning?
No. Could we do that if we wanted to? Sure, we probably could. Not worth it. Look, the bottom line is we got to get 9 working, and getting 12 working is harder than getting 9 working. So let's get 9, and then we'll see about speeding up potentially the addition of other classes.
Foggy, any hint when we'll see a more final concept for the Ulfhednar?
Nope, because we haven't talked about it here in months.
Pachamos, will we get to hear the sweet, sweet sounds of DB again soon?
Oh yeah, next year. Yeah, we can stream them early.
Looking for a serious question. Okay. Zenkodak asks, what's your opinion on the pressure backers and fans of the project may put on CSE of their own idea of what maybe the game should be, and on how much that could influence CU?
I mean, look, if this was our first MMO, this was my first MMO, maybe there'd be some concern there. Do I like having pressure put on us? No, I certainly don't. Especially if it's pressure that is trying to change us from a foundational principle. That's, that obviously is not something we're in favor of. On the other hand, we expect backers at times to do that. That's just, how things go. Will it in any way force us to change our mind? No, not really. Look, we will change things if we feel, as a studio, that we are not doing them right. We've done that already. Obviously, the ability system. We also know, and I've said this before, so no insult is intended, that people on the forums, for example, only represent a small percentage of our backers. And as any of us who have played a lot of MMOs know, that if you listen just to the people on the forums, you're generally making a mistake. And the story I always use is WoW. I was in WoW's Friends and Family. Obviously, I played it at launch, still a subscriber, though I haven't played it in a bit. And if you went on the forums for the first few months after WoW launched, you would think it was a disaster. You would think it was terrible. Well, it only had 600,000 subs a few months later, and even, when they hit their peak, you still went on the forums, and there were a lot of unhappy people. On the other hand, as I've also said before, there's a lot of good intel that can come from the forums. So it's a matter of balance. It's a matter of looking and trying to, get as much as possible the objective opinions you can from people. So, the idea that we could be pressured into doing something that we don't believe in, not going to happen, especially if it's something that contradicts a foundational principle. We have said before, we will not do that unless we feel there is no other way to make the game better. because that's what we promised. We said these are our foundational principles. Yes, they are subject to change, but they're not subject to change on a whim. So hopefully that will give you some sort of comfort and solace that we won't be pressured into things. Certainly there's no one on the forums who can say, yes, we pressured MJ and CSE into changing, a foundational principle. Not even close.
Time to wrap up the wrap-up?
Okay, one more.
Oh, one more, okay.
Look for the great question. And folks, we will call it a year, or almost call it a year. We're going to live stream again right before we head off to the party.
Blackjack asks, will there be a way to enter an enemy realm besides borders, i.e. through the depths or something like caverns, etc.?
Huh. Well done. Nobody, I think, has asked that question
On one of these streams.
in 3+ years. Excellent. God, I love it when people do that. Well done. The answer is yes. And with that, because that, and again, nothing like ending on a question that hasn't been asked before. That's perfect. Thank you. So, again, it is time for me to go work on the update and finish off with Max the newsletter and get some other things done before the end of the year here. CSE will be closed from approximately 6:30, an hour and a half from now, this evening, until the beginning of January. It's a break that is needed by everybody, though some of us, I think, will probably still be doing stuff over it. But it is a break that I think, well, that I know we will come back eager and ready for what promises to be a very exciting 2017. And with that, I want to again wish everyone out there a very healthy, happy, fun, relatively sane, but most importantly safe holiday season, new year, and as always, and forever, because for as long as we're making this game, and hopefully other games with folks like your help, we thank you for your donations, we thank you for your support, and we thank you, of course, for your patience. It will be rewarded. You have already seen in many ways that it has been, and many more are coming next year. So again, good night, goodbye, good morning to some people. We will see you in less than 2 hours to say the official goodbye, but if you're not on that, I'll see you next year.
Right. Goodbye stream in about an hour and a half. All right. See you later.